Okay, here we go. And thank you for joining another Siebel Friday. We have February, end of February, last Friday of the month. So it's time to talk about, well, what should we talk about? Siebel 25.2 is on the menu. I know where it is, but I don't know when it is. So it's a first for me.
Alex, do you want me to give some introductory comments on this subject?
So maybe let's just get right to it, Brian.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, unless your name is Alex or Jason, you do not yet have 25.2. You guys manage, and someone from Tunisia whose name escapes me, because we password protected it. And the reason for this decision is that we found an issue that affects all outbound REST calls on Linux platforms, which
Okay.
is a significant percentage of our customer base. And so we have found the problem, we fixed the problem, we're rebuilding the release. Actually, that's not technically true. We are building a patch on top of the release. And we are, as soon as we get that fully tested and uploaded, which will hopefully be today or Monday, we will upload that, and then we will unlock the 25.2 release, and there will be a mandatory patch that you need to install on top of it. That's not, the patch won't actually be just for Linux. That was the thing that made us turn it off. We found another issue along the way that also is already fixed, so we'll package them together. So every customer will need to install this patch on top of 25.2.
So yeah,
So that's where it is. Just letting everyone know.
Yeah, thank you.
It is what it is. I can't, sometimes it happens.
That happens in the software
And
industry.
I'd rather have it work than have you guys download it and install it and have it not work. So
yeah,
Alex, this is Dinesh from American Airlines. Yeah, we applied 25.1 in our lower environments, and yeah, we found this issue and raised a product support aside. And yeah, all REST services are, the GET operation is getting converted to post. But to address some of these security vulnerabilities, we need to roll out this patch into production by end of March. So do you know by when we will get the 25.2 with the fix on the GET operation?
It's within days. Like it could be over the weekend. It could be Monday. It'll be soon. It's not something that's far out. Okay.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome.
I just don't, I mean, they have to finish. I mean, there's time involved in the packaging, which is, time is what it is. And then obviously we need to test it. We don't want to just actually miss the solution properly, or, we want to get it right. I mean, whatever, mistakes were made, but we don't want to put something out there that's going to make things worse for any of our customers. So that's why we pulled it back down. And like I said, I think you guys at American and literally Alex and one other person were the only people that downloaded it.
It was like maybe
hours
available for a few hours, and that
yeah,
people like me and Jason just happened to press F5 and
yeah, and get it. So but yeah, okay. Also, Dinesh, to your point, we did discover, or you guys discovered for us, the issue on 25.1. So the same will apply, where we're also releasing a patch for 25.1 for those customers that are affected. But that one is limited just to the outbound Linux, I believe, situation. So anyway, that's the
okay.
That's what's going on with it.
Yeah, thank you, Brian.
We could talk more about the actual contents of what'll be in it and stuff if you want, but if anyone has any questions about the actual kind of delivery situation, we should just get those out of the way now and move on.
Much appreciated.
Just for fun, with what version this bug was introduced?
Is what?
The bug you're talking about, with what version this bug was introduced?
25.1.
Okay.
The outbound Unix, or sorry, outbound Linux, let me be specific. The outbound Linux bug was identified in 25.1. It was actually identified, though, to us pretty much the day we were about to release 25.2 anyway. I think, if I understand the timing correctly. But yeah, 25.1. Anything before that should be fine.
Oh, great, thank you.
Do you
Okay.
happen to know what Tomcat's in 25.2?
It's
97, I think. Alex,
90,
you know?
98,
98. 98. Okay.
at least
All right, cool.
at least what I saw in the release notes.
Yeah.
In the Tomcat release notes. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
tells the
Perfect,
version.
because there's a security patch I need that one
Yeah.
for.
So
Yeah, understood. Yeah, I know that a lot of people were waiting on that in general. Tomcat's an endless battle because when I went out and looked at a customer request, middle of last month, and said they were like, we need 97 or 98 or whatever it was, and I went out and looked, and by then Tomcat had already moved to 99 or 100, or it's just it's very hard to keep up.
yeah, sure.
But yeah, it should be 98 at least, which I think resolves, all the really nasty CVEs out there, I believe. So that should help.
Okay. So thanks much, Brian. That's much appreciated as always. Is the insights that you can share here, and we do have some official pages that we can look into for understanding what 25.2 brings to the table. So because the bookshelf is already out.
Yes.
So the 25.2 bookshelf.
They were very efficient this time.
For your viewing pleasure. So is it okay if I
Yeah, no, it's fine.
it,
It's
open
out.
it?
Go ahead.
It's out, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So what I always do is typically go to that list of guides, and then you can do a search for revised, and then you see roughly the areas where there's a lot of changes, so that it warrants, well, that word. Many of the guides I see are still updated as a bug fix, more or less, or documentation fix, and that they don't get the revised flag.
Yeah, we tend to only do it for kind of larger revisions.
Yeah, but
if it's just a minor change, we typically don't.
I also noticed, well, the very nerdy observation, but that serial number did change. So it was something
that changes every month.
No, that was for a long time. It was the same number because it was until 61 with 25.1. Now it starts at 01 again.
So. And the individual guides, yes, that will tell you it changed. You're right. But the overall one always changes every month. The top level.
Well, the number changes, but the prefix that was that was for several years was the same prefix. So because I have
right.
I have some links which I continue and just add a number, and then it stopped working. So yeah, we see Siebel CRM containers on Kubernetes using Cloud Manager. So Siebel Cloud Manager is definitely a thing, and it got that huge enhancement last month with the standalone installer, so that you can install it outside of OCI on your on-premises, etc. And if we follow along here, I think we get the what's new chapter. And there's plenty of news here. Of course, the audience is probably nobody's using Siebel Cloud Manager, if I'm not mistaken. But if you're looking into that, you can also now deploy it using that Siebel installer, that standalone installer on Oracle Compute Cloud at Customer, which is the, correct me if I'm wrong, please, Oracle people, is the OCI compute in a box that you can put in your data center. Did I express that correctly?
Mostly, but you can't put it in your data center.
You can have Oracle put it there.
Oracle puts it in your data center and literally segregates off those boxes from yours. And it's kind of, I saw a diagram of it that I hadn't seen before. It was kind of interesting, that shows it literally like in a different physical spot within your data center and has a separate access. So literally Oracle can come in there and keep the Oracle boxes up to date without even the customer being aware.
That's
it's kind of cool.
It's cool. It's cool. There's Oracle stuff literally having a separate break room even for.
Yeah, exactly. It's
because
crazy.
that's required.
Yeah,
that's super cool. So okay, if you can afford that as a customer, then you get that box managed by Oracle, and it's Oracle Cloud inside your data center. Of course, all the benefits apply that, yeah, you don't have to share your data with the world. And that is one enhancement for the standalone installer. So you can use that to deploy Siebel on OC3. And there's also now the liberty of, which to a lot of people sounds very funny, bring your own Git.
I know.
So you can bring your own implementation of Git that is either GitLab or GitHub or whatever. So it's no longer confined to just GitLab. So that's what I read from that documentation change here. So Cloud Manager gets a lot of attention typically because, yeah, it's a new product. What's the second revise? Oh yeah, the installation guide, and I think that's a big one.
Yes.
Does it? It tells us about installation related changes, and I found on the Oracle blog, on the Siebel CRM blog, there's already an article, maybe time released, I don't know. It's out there, 25.2 update.
Yeah, just to let you know, there are some changes to the installer, but a lot of what you might see in the bookshelf is really just to get it accurate. There was stuff in there that was just simply wrong. It was outdated from many, many, many years ago. And so we had to go in there and make a few changes for some actual functional, changes in the installer. But in doing so, I know Holger, who did that, he was like, "Oh man, this is a mess. I need to clean it up." So
which is always
he ended
good.
up making a lot of older changes that were applied, which is good, obviously. And I threw a few in there of my own as well. I noticed, I was like, "Oh man, this is wrong too." So,
so always good to
changes.
revisit those guides. I think the big change is indicated in the guide, but not really in the sense that it describes the bigness of it, the impact, because the Oracle Instant Client is now shipped as part of the Siebel binaries, the folder structure. Is that correct?
Yes. And there is a TOI that will be made available as soon as we release this. In fact, the TOI may actually be out there, because I don't know if we told OU not to publish them. But anyway, what happened is we're moving off of using the data direct drivers, which you are all familiar with, for at least if you have an Oracle database, for the last 25 years or whatever it's been. And so we're finally getting rid of those for a couple reasons. One, they don't support 64-bit clients, and we're moving that direction. So we want to kind of get that out there now, to have it in place. The second is it's just yet another third-party moving part that we can get rid of, because obviously Oracle offers its own ODBC drivers. And so, when we started, it was Siebel, not Oracle. So we found somebody else's. That's the history. And so now we're going to lay down an instant client and the Oracle ODBC add-on or extension to the instant client. Any of you have ever installed the instant client, but it's like an add-on to it. And that is what our binaries will use, that client that we will have tested, of course, in order to interact with the Oracle database. Intention is for it to be pretty transparent. The existing data direct driver, ODBC driver, source, the actual data source, will be renamed to old or whatever. And then a new one will be created using the new ODBC driver that's the Oracle native or Oracle supplied driver, using the old name. So, from the point of view of your Siebel database or your Siebel servers and whatever scripts you have that might be using ODBC to talk to the database, they won't even know. It'll just change, and it'll just start using the new one. We're expecting slightly better performance, and like I said, it'll help us in the future when we do move to 64-bit, and just also the data direct. Just like I said, they don't even have a 64-bit client, which starts to make you ask questions like, are these guys really maintaining this thing? Right. So we're trying to get rid of that possibility. and give you the new one. So like I said, in almost all cases, it will be transparent. We have discovered one little situation that we will require people who are using containers to possibly have to do, if you build a container image, and and then you take that image and deploy it to other machines, the ODBC source is not defined in the shared space. It's defined on the inside, or not in the non-shared space. And so you have to manually configure it for now. We'll fix that. But it was a gap in one of our consultants figured it out.
It would just affect people who roll their own Docker images.
Yes,
from the installers. If you get the Docker image or the container image from Oracle, download 25.2, it will be
right. You should be fine.
Yeah,
you should be fine.
Yeah,
it's just it's that particular. It's where you create your own.
Okay.
That you would have.
And it's of course just for Oracle database, not SQL Server DB2s. That stays the same.
Oh yeah, no, we're not changing any of that stuff at all.
Okay, great. And
although I will mention, if you don't mind, we also noticed that with the newer MSSQL drivers, and many of you may have already covered this or found this out the hard way if you're an MSSQL customer, is the newer drivers, when you create a data source, it defaults to requiring TLS. So if you don't have TLS enabled on your database, which you should anyway, and you don't already have the certificate available in your Siebel Trust Store, when you install a newer version of the MSSQL, a new instance against MSSQL, you're going to have to manually make sure you either have to turn off the TLS requirement manually, or you have to import the server's certificate to your Siebel Trust Store
to TLS.
For things to keep working. And that's, like I said, that's a Microsoft change. We're going to look into accommodating as best we can, but ultimately we can't import certificates or any, we can't. We don't know the passwords or any of that. So there will have to be, but that's no different than any other integration you might have where you have to take the third party root CA and import it into your Siebel Trust Store. So it's really nothing new. It's just a new place you have to worry about doing it. So I just thought I'd mention that.
Okay.
As a distantly related topic on ODBC.
Thank you for that.
Brian, just one question. I'm sorry. So which means on when we apply 25.2, so right now within our Docker container image, we install Oracle client separately, download RPMs, and then when we build the Docker image, the client is already installed on top of the Siebel image. So which means on 25.2, we no longer needed that.
That's right. You will no longer need to install a separate ODBC client and ODBC for Oracle after 25.2. Now, if you still have one there that you're using for other purposes, I don't know, enterprise manager, I don't even know, what it might be. You can leave it there, of course. I mean, Oracle clients can coexist, but the Siebel one will always force, by hard coding the path, to use the binaries that we lay down. There's also even an option for you, if you already have one on there and you want to keep it for whatever reason, you can leave it there, and you can even leave your TNS names file there and set and this is all in the TOI and the documentation. You could set the TNS names or a environment variable, whatever it's called, which is different than Oracle Home, to that external path. And we will use that external path's TNS names file. But the binaries will always be the ones laid down in the Siebel folder structure.
Okay, got it. Yeah, thanks, Brian.
Okay,
awesome.
If that makes sense.
So that's a significant step forward to, as you say, to the 64-bit support, and eventually database 23 AI.
Yes, it will also help us with that. Exactly, and it'll help with a bunch of other stuff too. And I mean, at some point, we have to do it. At some point, you have to move to 64, and so we are working on that. It's just
let's go to 64-bit before we have 128-bit.
Right, exactly. Maybe, yeah, that'd be good.
So we can address every atom in the universe or something like that. Okay, so that's yeah. So 25.2 definitely something to look out for. It's coming. Thanks, Brian, for the update, and just in time for that Siebel Friday to answer some people's questions they have. I got a few nervous emails from customers. They
Yeah.
they couldn't find 25.2. Where is it? And
Yeah.
yeah, so it's coming, right?
Yeah.
That's the message.
Yep,
And it's
it
going
is.
to be even better and
Yeah.
bug fixed.
I think there's some good stuff in there.
Yeah, right. Okay, so yeah, so that's the unusual part of this Siebel Friday. There's no presentation because there's no material to really pull from apart from the blog post and the bookshelf, which is in entirety. It's available, so you, of course, you can read ahead. And for the second part of this Siebel Friday, I have announced I would like to talk about containers a little bit more. So what I did over the past weeks was publish a few videos on, well, the usual place, you know where it is, the YouTube channel. And it all started with me setting up another training environment, a sandbox, so which always requires, the requirement is always put it in one single machine, right? Because then I have a VM, it's atypical from a production Siebel environment because you spread it out across multiple machines. So I want everything on one single VM. And for the sake of, well, having Siebel tools as well, it needs to be a Windows VM, right? So the operating system must be Windows, so I can install Siebel tools and DISA, all the Windows dependencies. But the customer this time, they wanted to explicitly see Linux, Siebel on Linux, and as containers. So I told them, okay, there's the containers from Oracle. You can download them. But we needed a separate box to run them. So long story short, I found a way, which might not be, let's say, really useful for production, but definitely useful for sandboxing or evaluation. You can get a sample, the Siebel sample database, and Linux containers on a Windows box. And those videos are quite lengthy, so if you're interested in any of that, watch that. And I can show you the live environment where I'm running. So here's Siebel tools happily running right away on an Oracle database. So Siebel it's the sample database, so that's also important because it has those valuable data. It has the vanilla repository of the version that you use. And there's just one moment. It's not work. Yeah, there's the SMC with a gateway. Yes, you can run a gateway cluster on a single machine. There's call center. And if you look closely, would you look closely at this machine, you wouldn't find an Oracle service or you wouldn't find a Siebel server in the typical place in the Windows services. So let's see, Siebel. There's no Siebel server. There's no Oracle database. Well, it's Oracle Cloud, so it runs on OCI, but it's a Windows VM. So the answer is that I enabled the Windows Linux subsystem, or WSL, the Windows subsystem for Linux. And on top of that Windows Linux subsystem, I installed Podman. So Podman for Windows, and it comes with a nice desktop application you can see here. And in that application, you see my containers running merrily together. So there's, well, one gateway's exited, but should not hurt, right? And I have an Oracle database also as a container. Why not? Because very easy to deploy from the Oracle Container Registry, the official one. I have one AI and I have one Siebel server. And so these are all running from the 25.1 container image that you can get on Oracle support. So it's one single image supporting the entire infrastructure. And that's really powerful for, well, it's absolutely nothing I would do on a production environment because, well, let me show you why. If you go here, look at how these CPUs are used. Of course, there's nothing happening right now. So let something happen. So I will just stop that Siebel server and I will actually destroy it. And as what you're deleting that Siebel server? Yes, because I like doing it for demo. And then I have PowerShell, and inside PowerShell, I can run this podman command, which will establish the Siebel server and hook up to the persistent folder, which is a Windows folder. So you have the persistent folders. And so let's just run it. And so it will keep the machine busy. Okay, so it should pops up here right away. So I can inspect the terminal. You see, you can get a shell into that Linux. So you really see it's a Linux box, right? So some people don't believe me. That's Windows. No, it's Linux. So I can do top -C. I can see that Siebel server is already starting up here. Probably talking to Tomcat, to Zookeeper. And yeah, those CPUs will never go like to 100%. They will always stay at, no matter what I tried and how many AIs I asked and how many Google pages I visited, you cannot get those processes on Windows to consume all of the hardware. There's some kind of limit what this virtual machine inside a virtual machine can use. So it's not very hardware efficient. That's number one, why I wouldn't really, if you're watching this and you say, oh, wow, that would be cool on our production environment. It's not cool because you're not using your hardware efficiently. Of course, for demo environment, to have a training environment or evaluation with Linux machines, with Siebel on Linux, it's just perfect. And you can package it at a single VM. And what if I want a second Siebel server? I just run that command again with different numbers. And I have another machine, which, well, I did with the gateways, right? So I have 3 gateways, currently 2 running. And I'll stop there if there is any comments from you guys or any questions. It's like the moon landing.
Alex, I was going to say, first of all, I love that you use the Windows subsystem for Linux. I did the same thing. I don't know if anyone watched it, but I did a presentation on rolling updates a while back, and I'm always more comfortable having stuff under my own control. I don't want it out on our VMs that are in Oracle Cloud, because what if I have a network problem and whatever, I'm operating off my phone or whatever. I have everything on my laptop. And so
Yeah.
I've done the same thing. And that's another use case for this, is if you want to be able to demo something on a laptop, and presuming you have a Windows laptop, this is a great approach, because you can be self-contained onto that laptop. You don't need any network connectivity
Or you
to
can
some
run a
cloud,
VM
right?
on the laptop. Yeah.
Right.
So,
and then run all these guys inside it. Or run them, or you could run them directly on laptop, but I'd run them inside a VM like you did. But that's another use case for this, I think, where it's really handy to be able to have a self-contained, totally self-contained on the laptop. You don't need to talk to the outside.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah. So I remember seeing you, but didn't realize it was actually on Windows.
Yeah, it's running. Yeah, I actually was running on Windows.
Yeah, so cool. So you see the Siebel server starting up, and usually you expect the CPUs to go to full throttle, and it's not. So that's a minor problem on it. If you just want to demo, evaluate, have a Siebel sample database, because many customers I'm talking to, of course, they have Siebel heavily customized for 20 years or more, and they have no reference to vanilla Siebel anymore. And sometimes they need that reference, or to an English version of Siebel, and they use a German version all the time, and they struggle to set up even an object manager to run vanilla Siebel, which is possible, of course. And so that single virtual machine they can literally hook onto is just perfect for those kind of things. Yeah, and with that customer, we also tried to emulate a problem they had. with regards to Zookeeper. And you might notice something in my configuration which is a little bit odd, or it's actually not odd. Can you see it?
You're missing a server.
I'm missing a gateway, yes. So I'm running a gateway cluster of 2. And you might scratch your head and say, no, this is against the rules. You have to have an odd number of, we all learned that when we learned Zookeeper. You have to have an odd number of nodes to support the quorum functionality, right? So the majority of the nodes, the remaining nodes, can elect a leader. It's very strange terminology with Zookeeper, electing a leader and a quorum. And and I recently
You don't have to. You have to.
and
Turns out you don't have to.
You don't have to, yes. So the problem with that, the problem the customer is facing might sound familiar. They have a private data center with 2 availability domain, with 2 physical locations. Whereas OCI runs on 3 physical locations in most regions. So you would fit your 3 gateways on each physical location for maximum availability and failover security. But what if you only have 2 physical locations and 3 gateways, right? So where will you put 1 and where will you put the 2? And either way you put it, if one data center fails and that's the one with the 2 Zookeepers, you're screwed, right? Because you have only 1 left, and that doesn't have the quorum, and the Siebel just dies, right? So we try to find, to, I don't know, put a square peg in a hole or in a round hole or something. And we came across a Oracle support document. I have the number here, so you can look it up yourself. And that Oracle support document talks about a two-node Zookeeper configuration. And it mentions an oracle, or the oracle. If you watch the Matrix movie, you probably get the reference.
Yeah.
Here is a
lowercase oracle, if I may. It's a lowercase oracle.
Oh, yeah, here the
no, I know, but I'm saying it's not anything to do with Oracle.
Yeah,
there's nothing to do with our company.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Yeah, that's what I want to explain. So it's the Oracle quorum for Zookeeper is Oracle is referring to the ancient Oracle of Greece. The Oracle at Delphi, etc. Not the company Oracle. So to be very clear, right. Yeah, you have to repeat that all the time to yourself. It's not has nothing to do with Oracle. It's the Oracle. It's a reference to the ancient Greek Oracle. And this document describes how to have a cluster of 2 Zookeeper instances. So that means you can have a cluster of 2, but you can avoid that problem that when one of them goes away or dies or is unavailable, then the cluster would be broken because quorum. But this one has a way of using a file in that path. That's actually the file name here. Mastership is, well, some file name you choose. And that file carries information. Either it has a 1. Zookeeper loves those little files with just a number in it. Right? If it has a 1 in it, it tells the Zookeeper who's reading that file, I'm the 1. Well, you get the reference if you watch Matrix. I'm the 1 Zookeeper that is now in charge. So if you have the second one, the file has 0 in it. And you can switch that, right? And that is what the Oracle does. The Oracle is a process that you have to implement yourself and switch and tell who is the 1, right? So it's all movie references, I guess. So that's very academic read, and it's a little bit confusing. So I read it several times. I ran it through 2 AIs to make sense of it, and I started to experiment with that customer on that Oracle quorum. So we set up a cluster of 2, and the first surprise is, indeed, you can run a cluster of 2 Zookeepers. So you see, I'm using only the gateway 1 and 2. I'm not using the third one, so it's turned off. It was a cluster of 3. We scaled it down to 2. It just kept running because 2 Zookeepers up is a valid cluster. But if one of them would die, Siebel would go down. Then we changed the configuration according to that article. So you have to change the config file. So you have to be aware when you do an SMC reconfiguration of that cluster, it will overwrite the file. So these are manual changes. I added standalone enable true, and I added that Oracle path to this one, just for sake of easier understanding. This one reads a file mastership1, and that's the file, and it tells us, okay, I'm the one. And there's the second Zookeeper configuration. It reads mastership2. So just I can see, okay, mastership2 is 0. So number 1 is in charge right now. So if I turn off the second Zookeeper, actually, not sure what will happen, but let's not wing it. It should, in theory, keep running. So I'll turn it off right now. And that's what this environment like this with containers makes it very easy to experiment with those things. You're very fast. You can turn off a container, start it up. You don't need several machines. Now let's see if I got it right. So let's open new browser. I should still be able to log. Yeah, it does the service discovery. So I get a call center session. And I'm really running on 1 Zookeeper now, 1 gateway. So there's my session. Okay, let's do SMC. That always gets a little bit confused, but that's fine. So how's that? So I could lose one of the data centers with that configuration and still have an operational Siebel environment. So as people can log in, REST API is working, SOAP is working. There are a few things that probably don't work as expected. That customer is trying to figure out if it's something they can use, and I told them they must contact Oracle, the company, and Oracle support to get it right. But it's very interesting to see that this actually works, right? So yeah, that's the little demo I prepared using containers and Linux on Windows and Zookeeper. Any questions? Any comments there?
I'll throw out. I've worked with Mehdi and Andreas, who's on our escalations engineering team, on this particular thing, and there is a so that document you're looking at here came out of that exercise, and so we do have at least one customer who is using this technique, not necessarily with all the clustering, but the Oracle quorum technique in production.
Oh, okay. Good to hear.
And so this is a fully supported thing that we have. And we say it in the sense, our support people were like, wait a minute, we can't just suddenly support this. And I said, well, we're not doing anything new here. This is all capabilities of Zookeeper anyway. Like it has nothing really to do with Siebel in a very real sense. It's really more about Zookeeper and about how your data centers and all that kind of stuff. So
if you have that that data
and
set,
I think
yeah,
I thought I had recorded a demo of this, but now I can't find it. So maybe I imagined that.
Okay, good, but good.
But
It's actually,
I would love to share it if I had. And I think that actually wait, I remember what we did not record a demo of this yet. We were hoping we had a couple other customers who said they wanted it, and we were like, well, every customer situation is going to be a little different, so let's kind of test this thing out a little bit in the real world. So we know it works fine for this one customer, but
so,
we would like people to help. So Alex, you've now kind of verified it. That's good.
yeah, but because of can I put you in touch with that customer who?
Yeah, no, happy to, because we want somebody who's going to actually just like I said, I mean, the topology is different for everyone because not just the Siebel bits, but everybody else, all your integration points, right? So things like this, we're a little hesitate to just go like, oh, go ahead and do it. Because we don't, it's impossible to analyze all the effects. But if we could have several customers say, yeah, this works for us, we don't need a beta or anything because we're not releasing anything new. It's just a technique.
It's just using
much like the rolling updates. It's just a technique. It's not new software.
So I found.
But anyway, hook me up.
Okay, yeah, because again, that customer, they have a two physical location data center, apparently, and the odd number of it giving them headaches, right? So even if you have 5 Zookeeper nodes, it still doesn't cut it because
right. It doesn't matter. You could keep going forever and it doesn't work. But one thing I will also point out to you though, and I don't know if you thought of this, Alex, yet. You could also have an odd number in each data center.
Which is that?
To make it further redundant. So each data center then it can also be redundant. So you set them up as, I don't remember how you do it. There's like a way to set up a kind of a read-only node. So the primary within the data center will run and the others will just be mirroring. And if that one goes down, the other ones can pick up and it'll still work.
There's actually a lot of things if you go down Zookeeper documentation. I think what you mean is dynamic reconfiguration. Is that it?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Using dynamic reconfiguration.
Yeah, but that's another thing.
So you're not even like you're not limited to those two.
Yeah,
right?
But
what I'm saying. You're just limited to. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know if that
I found it just simplifying the problem. So that is like we can never put an odd number on an even number of data centers.
Right.
But we can put an even number there. So let's start with 2, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, no, you wouldn't have. Let's say each data center would be somewhat independent. You'd have an odd number in each data center.
You can still run 3 and 3, for example. Huh?
Right. Exactly. But only 2 of them at a time are going to be involved in this Oracle quorum concept, the Zookeeper Oracle quorum.
There's a lot,
but there's a lot you can play with here.
A lot to play with. And did I understand correctly that whatever you play with, if it's Zookeeper capabilities, it's supported with Oracle? Oracle supports it, or is
as long as it's not contradicting some other standard, Siebel rule. I don't know what that might be, right? Unless it may be that somebody tries something crazy and I don't know what that is, so it's hard for me to theorize on our answer. But in general, you can play around with this stuff in Zookeeper as long as you're meeting the requirements of that Siebel has of Zookeeper.
It's a good idea to talk to Oracle and talk to Oracle support and say, okay, we're planning to do this, and would you just give us green light?
And for most of this Zookeeper stuff, I'll tell you what'll happen if you file that SR. If it's a new type of usage of Zookeeper, what's going to happen is that the tech support engineer is going to send what we internally call an info bug, which is basically a request for information from development. We could do it over email. We stopped doing that several years ago because then only the people on the email thread learn, as opposed to we create this info bug that goes in our bug system. Anybody can search for it and find it. And, we don't have to keep answering the same question. Anyway, so that's something we put in place a while ago. And so in this case, they'd search for information, not find anything because you're coming up with some new use of Zookeeper or any other third party. And they'll immediately, within the first day or so, file an info bug that'll come to someone like me or one of my peers. And then we'll go, in the case of Zookeeper, typically Mehdi and Andreas and I, who are kind of like playing with it, right? We like it. And so the 3 of us will probably go investigate it and say, we'll evaluate, is this a good idea or just a bad idea? Or if it's something that we could really take advantage of. And that's really where this knowledge article came from, was that one customer who is now using it in production came to us and said, hey, we need to be able to do this with 2 data centers. And so, Andreas went off and investigated it. He figured out how to do it. Mehdi and I then collaborated with him to put together the document and to understand it more. and then we said, yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
So
cool.
that's
story,
typically what would happen, in these situations, is that we'll just we'll help you investigate it because it's something we can then share with all our customers, if assuming it works.
Yeah, that's
assuming the idea is good.
That's what we're trying to find out. Does it work? Does it work in production? And
Yep. And like I said, we have at least one customer who is doing it in production.
When they do the
How's the
fire
file-
drill and kill the data center.
How's the file system work between the two data centers? If you have one shared file system,
Honestly, I have no idea. That's covered.
I would
probably.
mirror. I would treat that as I would use the native, like a more native file system level mirroring for that.
Yeah, probably that's covered. It's
kind of just keep it outside of Siebel. Like just it's
completely transparent.
Let that replication happen. I mean, you could do it on Windows with the whatever it's called now, not DFS, the old one, the other one, whatever it is now. And then obviously the same thing on any Unix or Linux flavor. You can have that mirroring set up to be transparent to Siebel. Just leave Siebel out of it.
Yeah. What
I mean, the same honestly applies to a database, right?
Yeah,
like we're not going to have Siebel
be clustered, whatever.
Yeah, I mean the same. I mean the file system's actually the lesser of the problem compared to the database, right? So because you have the same issue with the database, but you just have to use the native database tools for that, or file system tools, and make it so Siebel doesn't even know.
What I learned from the discussion with the customer is that many customers on-prem or even using some form of commercial cloud, a 3 data center setup is quite rare. Obviously in private cloud, because of you have to pay for another set of bring your own concrete. And, so that's expensive. So you just run 2 locations, and OCI has also not in every region they have 3. They have only a few regions actually have 3. That's the major regions, I guess.
Yeah, and it does have to be in the same region because otherwise the latency will kill you.
Yeah, it has to be.
That alone will kill you. There are other issues. But that alone will kill you.
Yeah, you can kind of Google map it if you know where to look for, and it's sometimes a few miles or 10, 20 miles away from each other. So they're co-located in the same, geographical region even on the map, and probably some kind of super fast fiber optics between those data centers. Super redundant.
we had tried like having Siebel running in like Ashburn and then having the database in Phoenix and seeing if it would work, and it was like painfully slow to a crawl.
Not good.
Yeah, no, I mean the way Siebel's architected to have all the vast majority of the logic is in the object manager layer, as opposed to being a bunch of stored procedures in the database. There's so much, it's very chatty with the database. So with low latency, you're never going to get good performance.
Okay, so yeah, there's some comments coming in the chat. Dinesh asks, does Oracle, the Zookeeper Oracle, detect that one instance is faulty or unresponsive? It authorizes the remaining healthy instance to continue operating. Yes, that's my interpretation. So that the external Oracle has to set that flag in the file, right? So it has to.
Yeah, it's not. So there has to be a discovery script that you run.
Yeah, is it still running? And then you switch the 0 and 1 in the files, right?
Right. So there is a script that's constantly running that you create. There's an example in that document. I think, right? And so it's just a repeating cron job type of thing. I don't remember. So and it basically just keeps going. It keeps just asking the other one, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?"
Yeah, you can.
And if that disappears, if the answer comes back as no answer,
you set 0. Okay. You set 0 in that file, and you set 1 in the other one, hoping that 1 is hoping that still does. one to.
Right. Well, yeah.
do
I
the
mean, because
work.
if they both die at the same time, or
And you have
But
another
the-
you have another problem.
yeah, yeah. Well, okay. The other thing that should be made clear in there is that it will run in a split brain mode. So if you lose the network connectivity, it will keep going. Both of them will think they are the master, the primary.
So
leader,
split brain,
whatever
you
it
mean
is.
set both files to one?
I'm saying you lose network connectivity.
Oh,
Both
nothing.
sides think the other one's down.
Okay, and they will still
Okay.
respond.
It'll keep going.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Now,
what
you
we
have to
observed.
also assume they're figuring out the network, that the databases and the file systems are still, I mean, they're not going to be talking to each other either. So who knows what chaos might ensue. And obviously you're going to be working to fix this as fast as humanly possible. But
yeah, of course you have to.
They will keep running. Both
Yeah,
of them will stay up and running.
If one data center goes down at that customer, there's a ton of red lights going on, and they're in panic mode.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, you're gonna fix it as soon as humanly possible.
Yeah, you
anyway.
bring up that.
But just to let you know, if your customers are attached to node 1 and your users and your other user are attached to node 2, and the network between them drops, those users can keep working. It's not going to boot all of them off or anything.
Yeah, that's the good news.
If it's purely network.
That's
if it's purely a network.
Siebel remains operational, even with only one Zookeeper left.
Right.
Which is,
and there's a and there's some even if they just can't talk to each other, and then there is a reconciliation process that happens at the end. If you go around messing with your Zookeeper stuff, and by that I mean you start changing server components and such during that time period, you're just looking for trouble. You want to stay away from that.
You don't want to change. Just want to keep
I mean, worry about fixing your connectivity. Don't be messing around with your server components, because then your two Zookeepers won't be able to sync properly with each other when you're done. You're gonna have to pick one or the other.
Yeah, the one, when I start the one, it will start syncing up with whatever it's been missing. It's pretty fast. And we'll just
that'll work
join
fine.
the cluster
but if
again.
If they're both actually up but separated because of network problem, you don't want to be messing around with your
you will fix
server
the problem
parameters
first. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So thank you, Brian, so much for all the insights. And it's just coincidence that we played around with the Oracle and the D1 Zookeeper model here, and you did too, and it's becomes a thing.
I appreciate it, because that makes me feel better about the fact that it's not going to work at only one customer.
Well,
it's something that we can share with others.
Definitely, we needed an environment where you could just experiment and play around, and that's the environment we used. And now they're trying it on their pre-production test environments, and they found a few things that I couldn't explain with my limited Zookeeper knowledge. So they told them, okay, you should talk to Oracle support, because they wrote the initial article that led us here.
But I'll be honest with this article. If you file anything on it, they're going to send you to me a minute. Like immediately. It's kind of the deal we made with them, is until we have a full training course and we've implemented it and figured it all out, blah blah blah, that we'll take an active hand in it. So if you forward this, if you connect me with this customer, if need be, I'll get Mehdi and or Andreas on the call. We can look at things in detail. We can sort it out. Happy to help with this, because I'd love to get it more formally rolled out.
Thank you. Okay, so that was a eventful Siebel Friday. So thanks to Brian and the Oracle team for doing the hard work and the good work on bringing Siebel into the future. So we are here to witness that. And thanks to everybody who joined. Final word, there is a link in the chat from Angelos to the Oracle Cloud World. Should just click it really quick. Oracle Cloud World Tour is up for 2025, 21 cities. Here's the city list and the dates. And Cloud World is a big event. Next one in London in March, and there is one planned for Munich, Frankfurt. I see that. So CloudWorld, Angelos, you still there? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still here.
So CloudWorld is not Applications Unlimited.
No.
Yeah.
It's different. So the most important topics there will be artificial intelligence, of course, OCI, and so on and so forth.
AI,
If you click, exactly, and machine learning and so on. So if you click on a register, let's say for Madrid, for instance, or Paris, you will see also the agenda of this event and the keynote speakers and everything.
Yeah, so let's do that for London, for example.
But it's not something that will cover application limit. We will have presence there, for instance, in London or in Frankfurt. It will be Richard and I. But apart from the two of us, there will not be so much presence in Frankfurt, for instance.
Okay, and
but if you are in Frankfurt, drop by and we're happy have a breakfast together or something.
Okay, and will there be later this year? Will there be Applications Unlimited events like last year?
This is something that we are still considering. Actually, we are considering of splitting it and not having an application limited day, but Siebel day, and then focus only on Siebel and on the Siebel enhancements, and make something like a conference across the whole of Europe. Because before we had application limited days only in specific countries, and then people from the same country have the opportunity to meet companies from the same country, but they couldn't exchange customers between different countries. Now we want to make it bigger and connect different countries together. It is not approved yet, so yeah, it's still an idea. If it will not get approved, then we will continue with application unlimited. We hope that you will like it, and we don't know the format yet. The idea, yeah.
Let's stay tuned on that, and hopefully you get approval so we can have a Siebel day. I like the idea. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, thank you,
Alex.
Thank you very much, Angelos, for that information. And with that, we close in on that Siebel Friday. Thank you very much, and have a great weekend, and see you next time.
Have a nice weekend. Bye.
Have a nice weekend. Thank you. Bye-bye.
I know. Thanks, Alex.
Bye. Thank you.